My tenant spent an hour complaining about her terrible landlord while I fixed the light next to her. She called me a greedy slumlord who never responds to maintenance requests. I own the building and check the portal every single day. I don't know if I handled this the right way, but I need outside perspective on what happened last month. I was up on a stepladder in the laundry room, replacing a burnt-out fixture, when I heard voices coming down the hall. The building, a 6-unit walk-up I'd owned for 8 years, had this quirk where sound carried weirdly through the first floor. I could hear every word even before the two women walked in with their laundry baskets. I kept working. Cargo pants splattered with paint from last weekend's touch-up job on the trim in Unit 1A. Faded race shirt from some 5K I'd run back when I had time for that sort of thing. Tool belt weighing heavy on my hips. I looked exactly like what I was, the maintenance guy, which technically I was. I just also happened to own the place. Most tenants had no idea. I learned pretty early that staying low-key meant people treated you like a human being instead of performing for you or saving up every tiny complaint for some formal sit-down. My property manager, Gretchen, handled the paperwork and showed apartments. I handled the light bulbs and leaky faucets and the stuff that didn't require a licensed contractor. The two women were mid-conversation when they came in. I recognized one of them immediately, Felicia from 3B. Late 20s, graphic designer, always paid rent on time through the portal. We'd exchanged maybe 3 sentences total since she'd moved in 4 months ago. The other woman I didn't know. Friend, probably. They barely glanced at me. I was furniture. Background noise. I tested the light connection. Flipped the switch a couple times to make sure everything worked. The fixture buzzed to life, steady and bright. Felicia started loading her washer. Her friend, Simone, I caught the name, was talking about some Netflix show. Normal stuff. Weekend plans. I was about to climb down and pack up my tools when Felicia's tone shifted. I swear to God, Simone, this landlord is the worst. I kept my hands busy, adjusted the mounting bracket, even though it was already tight. Like, I submitted a maintenance request 2 weeks ago about my bathroom faucet. It's been dripping constantly. I haven't heard a single word back. My brain stuttered. I checked that maintenance portal every single morning with my coffee. Part of my routine. I hadn't seen anything from 3B in over a month. Have you tried calling? Simone asked. Multiple times. It always goes to voicemail. Nobody ever calls back. The only person I've ever gotten a hold of is this property manager, Gretchen, who works like 10 hours a week and is impossible to track down. She promised to pass everything along to the owner, but clearly nothing's happening. I made a mental note. Well, more like a mental alarm bell. I paid Gretchen specifically to handle this stuff. If she was dropping communications, we had a serious problem. Felicia poured detergent into the machine. I looked up the property records online. The building's owned by some LLC with a generic name. You know what that means. What? Investment property. Probably some trust fund kid who inherited money and bought real estate for passive income. They've probably never even set foot in this building. I was standing 6 feet away from her, close enough to hand her the wrench sitting on top of my toolbox. I'd bought this building with money I'd saved working 60-hour weeks as an accountant. I'd chosen this neighborhood specifically because developers were converting everything to luxury condos, and I wanted to keep some affordable housing available. I visited at least twice a week. I was literally here right now, fixing her light. But I stayed quiet, kept adjusting things that didn't need adjusting. The rent's reasonable, I'll give them that, Felicia continued. But the place is falling apart. The floors creak constantly. The radiators clank all night. The windows are so drafty I can feel cold air, even with them closed. Simone made a sympathetic noise. And get this, last month I got a rent increase notice. $50. Nothing in this building has improved, but sure, squeeze tenants for more money. That $50 increase had been tied to a 12% jump in property taxes. The city had reassessed all the historic district buildings. I'd absorbed most of it myself, could have passed along twice that amount and still been within legal limits. I'd included a full explanation in the notice. Apparently, she hadn't read past the number. Have you tried meeting the landlord face-to-face? Simone asked. Felicia actually laughed. That'll never happen. They avoid tenants on purpose. probably because they know how many complaints they have to deal with. I heard they live in some fancy suburb and only come by to collect rent. I lived 3 blocks away. My apartment was smaller than hers. She kept going. The complaints rolled out like she'd been rehearsing them. The laundry room only had 2 washers for 6 units, and they were old and slow. The basement storage was damp. Packages got left in the entrance where anyone could steal them. Some of these were fair points. Others showed she didn't understand what it meant to maintain a 1920s building. I'd upgraded the washers 3 years ago to high-efficiency models after the old ones died. The basement humidity was a structural issue I'd partially addressed with dehumidifiers, but short of major work like gut the building major, wasn't fully fixable. The package thing I'd been researching, but the layout made it complicated. You know what really pisses me off? Felicia was warming to her subject now. The landlord's probably pulling in at least $8,000 a month from this building. After mortgage and taxes, they're probably clearing several thousand in pure profit. And they can't be bothered to fix a dripping faucet or answer a phone call. The math was so wrong it was almost funny. After mortgage, property taxes, insurance, utilities for common areas, Gretchen's salary, routine maintenance, and the inevitable surprise repairs. Last month, it was the water heater in the basement. $2,000 I hadn't budgeted for. My actual profit margin was maybe $800 a month. When things went well, some months I broke even. Some months I lost money. This wasn't passive income. This was a second job. I worked every single week. But Felicia had constructed this entire narrative. The absent slumlord, the trust fund kid, the person who didn't care about actual humans paying rent. She was describing someone who didn't exist. The whole system is broken, she told Simone. Landlords just collect checks while buildings deteriorate. It's why housing's so unaffordable. It's why people like us can't get ahead. I could hear real anger in her voice. Righteous indignation about an injustice that wasn't happening. Not here, anyway. Not in this building. Her phone rang. She stepped into the hallway to take the call. I looked at my watch. Nearly 3 p.m. I needed to decide how to handle this. Part of me wanted to just leave. Let her keep believing whatever she wanted to believe. Deal with it through official channels later. But another part, the part that had poured 8 years and countless hours and more money than I wanted to calculate into making this building something I was proud of, that part was tired of being invisible. Simone stayed in the laundry room, folding clothes from her dryer. I climbed down from the stepladder. Walked over. "Hey," I said. "I'm sorry. I couldn't help overhearing. I'm the owner of the building." Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God. It's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. But I think there's been some serious miscommunication, and I'd like to get it sorted out." She glanced toward the hallway, where Felicia was still on the phone. Lowered her voice. "You're really the landlord?" I pulled out my driver's license. Showed her the LLC documents on my phone. "Really? Did you hear everything she said?" "Pretty much all of it, yeah." Simone looked like she wanted to disappear into the dryer. "I'm so sorry. I'm just visiting. I didn't." "You don't need to apologize. Honestly, I appreciate hearing honest feedback, even if it's based on some misunderstandings." I kept my tone light, non-threatening. "Do you know if she actually submitted those maintenance requests? The dripping faucet?" She said she called and left voicemails and emailed, but nobody responded. I pulled up the maintenance portal on my phone, scrolled through 3 months of requests. Nothing from Unit 3B, not a single entry. Either she'd submitted requests through some channel that hadn't reached me, or she'd tried methods that had failed because of system breakdowns on my end. Either way, this was fixable. Felicia came back into the laundry room. She was looking at her phone, typing something, and didn't notice right away that Simone and I were talking. When she looked up and saw us standing together, confusion crossed her face. Then she saw Simone's expression, somewhere between apologetic and terrified, and I watched her brain start working through possibilities. "Hi, Felicia," I said. "I'm the owner of the building. We should probably talk." The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might actually faint. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. She tried again. Wait." I was fixing the light. I gestured at the stepladder. "I heard your conversation with Simone. I think we got some serious communication breakdowns that need addressing." She looked at Simone. Simone was suddenly fascinated by her dryer settings. I need to understand what maintenance issues you've been experiencing, I said, keeping my voice level. Professional. And what steps you took to report them. Because several of the things you mentioned are news to me. Felicia took a shaky breath. Her voice came out much quieter than before. My bathroom faucet has been dripping for about 2 weeks. I tried to report it, but I wasn't sure if the requests went through. How did you submit them? I called the number on my lease. Left voicemails. Call it right now, I said. I want to see what happens. She pulled out her phone. Dialed. We both listened as it rang 4 times and went to a voicemail box that was full. Couldn't accept new messages. I felt my jaw tighten. That was absolutely a problem. Did you try the maintenance portal? The website. I never got information about a website. Just the keys and the lease. Another Gretchen failure. Every tenant was supposed to get a welcome packet with all the essential information. Phone numbers, websites, policies, how to report issues. I made notes on my phone while Felicia stood there looking like she wanted to sink through the floor. What other maintenance issues? I asked. The floors creak. The radiators are loud. The windows are drafty. But those aren't emergencies, I guess. Just annoying. The floors are original 1923 hardwood, I said. I could refinish them, but you'd have to move out for a week and it wouldn't eliminate all the noise. That's just how old wood behaves. The radiators are part of the building's steam heating system. Replacing that with modern HVAC would cost around 200 grand. The windows I installed weather stripping 2 years ago, but old windows are never going to be as efficient as new ones. Replacing all the windows in the building would run about $40,000. That would mean rent increases of 200 plus per unit to finance it. Would you like me to do that? She shook her head quickly. Some of what you're experiencing isn't negligence, I said. It's the reality of living in a building that's over 100 years old. There are trade-offs. Vintage charm comes with vintage characteristics. I pulled up the property tax records on my phone. Showed her the 12% increase that had triggered the rent adjustment. Showed her my calculations, how much I'd absorbed versus how much I'd passed along. You mentioned I'm probably clearing several thousand in profit every month, I said. Want to see the actual numbers? I walked her through it. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, Gretchen's salary, utilities for common areas, routine maintenance, emergency repairs, like the water heater last month, which cost 2 grand I hadn't planned for. Most months I make about $800, I said. Some months I break even. Some months I lose money. This isn't a cash cow. It's a long-term investment that requires constant attention. Felicia was staring at my phone screen, not arguing, just absorbing. The policies you called ridiculous? I continued. The no bikes in hallways rule came from a fire marshal inspection. Hallway obstructions are a safety violation. The quiet hours were requested by the elderly couple and one who go to bed early. The insurance policy happened after someone's stored boxes created a tripping hazard that almost caused an injury. None of these rules are arbitrary. I addressed her comment about where I lived. I live 3 blocks from here. I visit at least twice a week. I'm here right now because I do a lot of the routine maintenance myself to keep costs down instead of hiring contractors for every minor issue. I'm not absent. You just haven't seen me because I look like this. I gesture to my paint-stained cargo pants, my ratty t-shirt, and most people don't look twice at the maintenance guy. Simone had finished folding her clothes. She grabbed her basket and headed for the door with a mumbled, "I should go." I didn't stop her. Felicia was looking at the floor. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have assumed. You mentioned filing a complaint with the rental housing division," I said. "That's a serious escalation. I take maintenance obligations very seriously, but I can't fix problems I don't know about. If your communications didn't reach me because of failures in my management system, that's on me to fix. But you need to understand that I've never intentionally ignored a legitimate request." "I know that now," she said quietly. "I'll inspect your apartment this afternoon, fix the faucet and anything else that needs attention. I'll also overhaul my communication systems so this doesn't happen again." I paused. "But I need you to commit to something too. When you have issues, make a genuine effort to reach me through multiple channels instead of giving up after one failed attempt. And don't badmouth me to other tenants based on assumptions." She nodded. "I really am sorry. I had bad landlords before. and I just assumed you were the same. Assuming the worst about people without evidence isn't fair, I said, especially when those assumptions lead to formal complaints and organizing other tenants against me. You mentioned a city council plan and a meeting with other tenants. That was more talk than action, she admitted. I was frustrated and venting. Who else supposedly has complaints? The couple in 2A mentioned heating issues, and the guy in 1C had noise problems. I pulled up my phone again, showed her the logged requests from both units, the work orders that had been completed. Heating issue was fixed 3 weeks ago with a new thermostatic valve. Noise issue was partially addressed with area rugs, though sound transmission between floors in an old building is never perfect. Did you actually talk to those tenants about their experiences, or did you assume they had the same problems you did? I just had brief conversations, she said. I guess I projected my frustrations onto them. Right. I looked at her directly. What do you actually want from this situation? Do you want to move out? Do you want specific repairs? What would resolve your concerns? She thought about it. I just want my faucet fixed, and to know that future issues will be handled. I like the apartment. I don't want to move. Then let's fix it, I said. I'll address the faucet this afternoon. I'm setting up a direct hotline that comes to my personal phone for urgent issues. I'm creating a tenant portal with transparent tracking for maintenance requests. I'm holding quarterly meetings where everyone can raise concerns directly with me. But you need to approach issues in good faith instead of immediately assuming I'm negligent. I will, she said. I promise. I gave her my cell number, told her to save it, told her I'd be at her apartment in an hour. She grabbed her laundry basket and practically ran out of the room. I stood there alone in the empty laundry room, thinking about how completely wrong her assumptions had been, how much unnecessary conflict had been created by simple communication failures. Part of me was frustrated with her for jumping to conclusions, but another part recognized I had responsibility here too. I created a system where requests could disappear into a void. That was on me to fix. I called Gretchen, told her to meet me at the building in 30 minutes. When she arrived, I sat her down in the small basement office and asked directly about the communication protocols. She admitted she'd been overwhelmed with personal issues. The voicemail box had filled up weeks ago, and she'd forgotten to clear it. She'd been checking emails sporadically instead of daily. She hadn't been forwarding maintenance requests promptly. I know I dropped the ball, she said. I'm sorry. Tenants depend on functional communication, I said. When that breaks down, it creates exactly the situation I just dealt with upstairs. Is this temporary or ongoing? My mom's health is declining, she said quietly. It's been consuming a lot of mental energy. I understand if you need to replace me. I respected her honesty, but I also needed reliability. We agreed on a plan. I'd take over direct responsibility for maintenance and tenant communication for the next month while she focused on her family situation. After that, we'd reassess. I also told her I'd be implementing backup systems so no future requests could fall through the cracks, even if one of us missed them. An hour later, I knocked on Felicia's door. She let me in, looking nervous. The bathroom faucet was dripping steadily. I checked under the sink. Worn washer in the valve. 15-minute fix with parts one had in my truck. While I worked, Felicia hovered in the doorway. I really am sorry about what I said in the laundry room. I appreciate the apology, I said, not looking up from the valve. What I really want is for you to learn from this. Jumping to conclusions and sharing those conclusions with others can damage relationships and reputations unfairly. I know. I feel terrible. Any other issues while I'm here? She showed me a loose cabinet handle in the kitchen, a window that didn't stay open properly. I fixed both on the spot. The whole visit took less than 30 minutes, but I could see her perception shifting in real time. Thank you, she said as I was leaving. I mean it. I was so wrong about you. Make it right by being accurate when you talk about the building going forward, I said. If you have good experiences, share those. If you have concerns, bring them to me directly. Over the next few weeks, I implemented everything I promised. New maintenance portal with transparent tracking. Hotline forwarding to my cell. Building-wide email introducing myself properly and explaining the improvements. First quarterly meeting scheduled. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Several tenants thanked me for being proactive. The couple in 2A said they'd had a great experience with the heating repair and hadn't been complaining at all. The guy in 1C appreciated the effort on the noise issue and understood the building's limitations. I made some affordable improvements too. Installed a secure package locker system in the entrance for $600. Added a third washer and dryer to the laundry room by converting and used storage space. I explained the small rent increase clearly, and tenants actually supported it because they could see the direct benefit. Felicia became one of the building's most reliable tenants after our encounter. She attended every quarterly meeting, offered thoughtful suggestions. A month later, she apologized again and said the experience had taught her an important lesson about assumptions. 6 months after the laundry room incident, I ran into her in the hallway. She just signed her lease renewal. I was looking at other apartments, she said, but I realized I have it pretty good here. Responsive landlord who actually cares about the property. I recommended the building to 2 friends. One of them is renting 2C now. The situation with Gretchen resolved itself naturally. She decided to step back from the property manager role to focus on her family. I hired a new part-time manager named Oscar who was more organized and reliable. A year later, the building was running better than ever. I'd learned valuable lessons about the importance of visible, accessible leadership, even when you prefer to work behind the scenes. I still dress like a maintenance guy. I still fix light bulbs and leaky faucets myself. But now tenants know who I am. They have my cell number. They see me as a person, not a faceless LLC. And Felicia? She's still in 3B, still pays rent on time, still shows up to quarterly meetings. Sometimes when I'm in the laundry room fixing something, I think about that afternoon. How completely her assumptions had been wrong. How much had changed because of one uncomfortable conversation. I don't miss being invisible, not even a little. But I do miss the days when I could work on a light bulb without accidentally overhearing an hour-long character assassination of myself.
Alright, I'm out, but the next story is already on the way.